For most of us, as a bright, fresh-faced MFA student, the conference we all go to is the AWP, writing programs, the AWP. It's kind of like, the AMA, except they're writers instead of doctors. So all the MFA programs get together and discuss the state of the art. Okay, now the AWP draws about, last AWP, they drew about, 13,000 writers. And it travels like the circus from big city to big city, but wherever it's held, it's this huge impersonal frenzied affair. And with rooms of academic and literary presses handing out pens and notepads and bookmarks. All very interesting, but very theoretical talks on the state of the sonnet, or magical realism and resistance, and its implications for the post-colonial queer narrative. Of course, the real show is outside outside the panel rooms, in the meeting areas, in the hotel bars, and the lobbies, where the important conference officials and the literary personalities of all manners, Pushcart, Pulitzer, Guggenheim, they course like giant whale sharks through the scurrying currents of literary plankton, each with their attendant entourages of agents and admirers and lesser associates. And as an unpublished writer, I too was part of that plankton. I remember as part of that ocean of all those hopeful writers that I felt that the conference was more than just jealousy and the usual hopelessness and alienation that we're all familiar with. But there was hunger. I didn't feel I was getting the right nourishment to grow. Everything at the AWP conference is meant to edify and perpetuate literary fiction, MFA culture as is. And part of that requires having a bunch of MFA students running around aimlessly while entities like the Academy of American Poets, the Paris Review, and the University of Iowa all kind of wave from afar. The problem was that no one was telling me how to hack the system, or even how the system was working in the first place. There were the published ones, and then there was the rest of us. But nothing really about how to work the system more than keep records of your submissions, enter more contests, and online journals have higher acceptance rates. This left me so demoralized that I stopped going to the AWP conferences not long after I completed my MFA program. I drifted for a while. I kept writing. I would send a poem here, a poem there, and I began work on this novel that I knew had no chance of selling. And what so frustrated me was, even after going to these conferences, completing my MFA, even placing some of my publications in journals, I still didn't know what the damn game was. What? Entering book contests seemed like playing the lottery, and my writing's way too important for a lottery. I didn't want games. I wanted results. I didn't care about the history of the Kenyon Review or the socio-political ramifications of the Booker Prize. I'm really happy for what I learned at Cornell, but it was a limited experience. It was like I'd been practicing scales and circles of fifths, but I hadn't developed performance chops. I didn't want to become a theory person. I wanted books. I wanted to write. Just show me what the hell I need to do to get my work in print and just get it there. And that's why I decided to attend my first Southern California Writers Conference. What shocked me was when I first came here, was I didn't feel lost amongst the anointed ones. Y'all were working. Everyone was working. No one was too important to teach. No one was too accomplished or, badass to learn. It was hard work, but it was work, and I can deal with work. It wasn't chance or privilege or tweed blazers with arm patches. Sure, dinner was included, and Wes and Michael seemed really kind of sketchy. But it was simple labor. I understand labor. And for the first time, I felt in control of my career. I started speaking to people. I smiled, I tried to network. Above all, I was stunned with how businesslike they made the business of writing seem. This wasn't a place where people were waxing about poetic gift or genius or whatever. You did that at home. Gift and talent, that's assumed. This is where you learn to make your dialect pop, how to write a query, what pisses off agents. Since that time, I published a book of essays and short stories. I just wanted to get a book done because y'all are making me feel left out. My friend had a record label and wanted to start a press. I said, okay, screw it, let's start a press. So I offered to be his guinea pig, and I helped him with the business end of getting his press started. How did I know the business end? The book was a finalist for the 2012 Lambda Literary Award. That got me the attention of another larger publisher. He seemed interested in my work, but he published queer literature, and this had no queer content in it. There's no LGBT content in it. But he was from New York, yay. So I said, hey, I know this is not your thing. Again, something I learned here. Always respect an agent or publisher's thing. And I wouldn't usually bother you for something like this outside your thing, but you asked. And a few months later, I was back in New York for doing some work to promote my other book, and he pulled me aside. And he said, let's talk. Turns out he fell in love with my manuscript, MELE A HILO. He said, this is not the kind of book I would usually publish, but I really love this. I want this. The only thing is, I just want to do this book justice. Please, please, please let me have it. And that's a publisher talking to a writer. So he signed a contract not long afterwards, and that's your dream right there. That's my dream right there.